Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. This time we have got the big patch 3.14 preseason patch notes to go over. I'm going to go through them and give my thoughts and opinions on the changes and just kind of anticipate how these things will change the game. So a lot of these things you guys have probably heard about, but this is the first time that we're actually seeing like the numbers. And this is probably going to be an extremely long video. If there are certain things that you are interested in, not others, I will try to leave a timeline down in the description of the video so you can kind of skip over to something that you want to see more than others. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. So let's see here. These things are just kind of not such a big deal. This is actually a little bit of a nice change. So health bars will be changed so that the colors are a little bit different, just kind of a visual update. That's nice, but this is really where we want to start with the champion changes. Then there are other things that change, like the jungle and the support stuff, but we'll start with the champions. So Corki has gone through quite a swing in the last few months. He was buffed a couple of patches in a row. I think his mana costs were reduced, but then Triforce got the big rework, and then Corki all of a sudden became amazing. If you ever watched the Worlds, he was like pick or ban every game, but then they nerfed him in the last patch where they really hit his ultimate really hard. So now so they're increasing the cast range and reduce the mana cost on Phosphorus Bomb and giving it a new mechanic so it is lobbed instead of like an instantly damaging ability. Also reducing Gatling Gun's mana cost and increasing Missile Barrage's total attack damage ratio at later levels. Interesting. Okay, so some quality of life change. The changes to Phosphorus Bomb I actually think are going to be good. So it gets very significantly increased range from 825 to 600, which will be nice. But my understanding is, so now lobs a bomb through the air. That my understanding is that it's kind of like a skill shot now that can be dodged. So previously when you hit your Q, it just instantly blows up and there's no counterplay to it. That's one of the things that makes Corki kind of a lane bully. But now that it's going to have greater range, hopefully there will be more counterplay, which kind of will offset it. Overall, I think this might. I'm curious to see if this will be a nerf or a buff. Overall, I'm thinking this will be a buff to the Phosphorus Bomb. I think that this will be for the better. And yeah, the mana changes are really nice too, because this mana cost numbers are really, really high. So changing that is nice. But the big thing is this change right here. Now that it's lobbing through the air and the range is increased, I think overall that will be a buff. Changing Gatling Gun so that it reduces mana cost, that's a buff. And so it is your attack damage. Okay, so that makes sense. So this is going to help Corki scale better into late game. Overall, these are definitely buffs to Corki. This is more of just a change and a little bit of a buff, I think, but we'll have to see exactly how it ends up playing out. Because if it's a skill shot, it'll be easier to dodge. But, this is nice right here, specifically helping him scale into late game. So overall, I think these are good changes for Corki. I like the direction that they're going with him. I think that his kit, especially they're kind of taking, like, some of his power was locked into his ultimate and his auto attacks and getting the Spellblade proc off of Triforce. That's really kind of what makes Corki. But now that it's a little bit more centered around other areas of his kit, like I even think that they should change that there's like an AD ratio on his Phosphorus Bomb. But that would even probably, his kit is a little bit antiquated, so I think this is overall good changes. And buffs to Corki. I'm curious to see if he skyrockets in win rate and popularity again. I think these could potentially do that. Changes to Gragas. So Gragas is one of the top mages, and he's a very strong mid laner. He's got great poke, he's got great burst. He's also fairly tanky because of the damage reduction on his W, and he's got great sustain from his passive and his Ws as well as great mobility. So it looks like they are just pretty much nerfing him, my understanding. So they're reducing the cast range on barrel roll, but they're changing the mechanics. What does this mean? Okay, so if a player continually presses the hotkey for barrel roll just as the barrel reaches, it will immediately explode. Okay, so interesting. Okay, so this is a bit of a change. Strategically in close combat, sniping opponents with his barrel. Okay, so I think these are good changes. So they're reducing the overall range. This right here is a pretty substantial nerf, but now has a smaller buffer before the barrel reaches its destination. where the barrel can be activated. So it's more of a situation where it has less range, but when it reaches its maximum range, you can explode it immediately instead of kind of waiting a brief moment before exploding it. Overall, this is a nerf. I think that this right here is a pretty substantial nerf. I'm just going to call it a nerf. I think this part of it is okay, but this is just a straight up nerf. A range change like that is definitely a nerf. And then his body slam, this is his mobility. You can go over walls, and it's kind of his dash. So it will deal full damage to all targets hit. That's a buff, because before the damage was divided if you hit multiple targets. So like if you're using this for wave clear on minion waves, this will be better. Or if you're kind of diving right into the middle of multiple opponents, this will deal more damage. But the increase is the cooldown is increased at 12 seconds from 7, but then it is reduced by half if Gragas collides with a unit. So basically, if you're using Body Slam to run away, this is like one of the things that makes Gragas hard to deal with, because he has like infinite mobility with, like if you get max CDR, like a 7-second cooldown goes like 4 seconds. So he has like a 4-second dash, which is pretty OP. But now, if you're using it to run away, you have a 12-second cooldown. But if you use it to like go ham on people and do damage, you can get it pretty consistently, because so if I'm getting this correctly, so 12 seconds will go down to 6, and 6 is less than 7. So if you're using this aggressively, this actually is just a straight up buff, but if you're using it to get away, it's a nerf. So overall a minor nerf to Gragas. I think he's still going to be powerful. His ultimate is still untouched, his damage is untouched, a little bit of a range nerf here, but I think these are good changes to Gragas. Toning him down a little bit is nice. It'll make him, kind of solidify him more as a close range. You know, his power is going to be in his body slam. Has been shifted a little bit from his barrel roll to his body slam. Instead of like a long range poke mage who's also tanky, he's going to be more of like a getting close battle mage. Okay, Morgana. Let's see here. Okay, so displays a leash radius. That's not a big deal. Nasus visual update, okay, and they are nerfing him. So his lifesteal is just straight up reduced. Okay, so okay, I think this is a good change. Okay, so Nasus, the thing about Nasus is he's a hyper carry. He's a late game scaler. The more farm he gets, the stronger he gets. I mean, everybody's played against a fed Nasus, but the big thing that I think they're trying to address, and I think that they're correct in addressing, is that his passive gives him so much free sustain during the laning phase that it makes it very hard to push him out. If you compare him to other hyper carries like Vayne, Kog'Maw, Jax, you know, they have weaker laning phases and they can be bullied around, whereas Nasus is just like, okay, you just hit all your full combo on me and then I hit 1Q and I'm back to full health. And that's just not going to be the case anymore. So I think that this is good. These are good. This is a good change to Nasus. I think he needed this little bit of a nerf. Let's see, we're buffing Nautilus. We're buffing Nautilus's late game utility to further define his role in team fights. The root duration is increased. Okay, so this is like just a straight up buff to Nautilus. It starts the same at a half second, but it goes up to 1.5 seconds. So this is just a straight up buff to Nautilus as he scales. I don't think this is going to be too much of a change to him. Just a little bit of love for Nautilus. I don't think that this is going to turn him into too much of a monster, though. He still kind of is the same champion he was before, just that his root is a little bit better. But still, good champion. I think Nautilus is strong. He's got the most crowd control in the game, I think. Four crowd controls. He's got his passive root. He's got his Q, snare, or stun or whatever. He's got a slow, and he's got his ultimate. I think that's 4. So pretty crazy amounts of crowd control. And this just kind of adds to that. Okay, Nidalee. I actually have been super nervous about this because I love Nidalee. But I think that I understand what they changed. Oh, yeah, this is just a straight up nerf to Nidalee. And the optimal way to play against AP Nidalee is to get up close and personal in order to limit her poke damage. Okay, so this is just a straight up nerf to Nidalee, which makes me sad. Oh. Okay, well, I don't think these W changes are too much of a big deal, like 8 seconds versus 12 seconds. Like, I don't know, I don't think that's a huge deal. But this change to Javelin Toss, I think, is going to be difficult. Like, I think specifically this... Okay, so let me kind of back this up and then explain what they're changing. So Javelin Toss has base damage, and then it scales with AP, and it also scales with range. So I think it has like a 1500 range, and then so the base damage starts at like if you do like a melee ranged javelin toss. And then the further away that you are from Nidalee, when the spear hits you, the more damage it does. Now, it's changing two things. So first, the minimum damage is going to be extended to Nidalee's auto attack range, which I believe is 525. So you're not going to start the damage ramp up until you get past auto attack range. And that change, I don't think is a big deal, because so between 0 and 525 range, the damage is going to be less. But then from 525 to 1500, the damage is not really going to be that different. I don't know exactly, like, because I think for the most part when you land spears, it's between like 1000 and 1500 range. So you're still getting like the damage increase. Maybe it'll do a little bit less damage because I don't know exactly. I haven't done the math about, because instead of scaling linearly, it scales flat and then sharper. So there's some point. I don't know for sure. I'm guessing that maybe it will be a little bit of a nerf to all spears less than full range, but still they're still hitting really hard at max range. But then this is actually just a fair nerf. So before, what you would do on Nidalee is you would throw your spear and then you would turn and run away, and you can even like turn into cougar form and jump backwards with your W, because the distance calculated doesn't happen until the spear hits. So if you throw the spear, run backwards, you get more distance, and it's easier for you to get max range spears. But now you need to be at max range from where you cast it, and that's a straight up nerf, because that's kind of a core part of Nidalee's gameplay. Yeah, I think that this is definitely a nerf. I'm sad to see this because I think Nidalee is really strong and really fun. At least I really enjoy playing her, but I know she's really annoying to play against. But this hits her pretty hard. I think these nerfs are going to hit her fairly hard, and I'm a little sad to see this. Nidalee's, her flavor of the month status was pretty short, and I think that we're probably not going to see her much more. I mean, for poke mages, like, you'd rather, like, Ziggs becomes stronger. Lux would come back into flavor. Yeah, I just don't know why you would. I don't know if Nidalee would be as good as she was before. These are solid nerfs, I would say. I'm a little sad. I like Nidalee. Nunu, the damage cooldown heal of consume have all been lowered early ranks in order to keep the ability. Okay, so they're basically just balancing this around the fact that they changed smite. Because before they even changed, like when they buffed consume a little while ago, consume was stronger than smite, and that creates big problems because there's nothing that you can do to out smite Nunu, because he's got not only smite but also his consume. So I think that this is, they're just balancing it with the new smite changes. Sivir. Okay, so this is something that is a lot of people do not understand. So basically, they're changing it that they're targeting her boomerang blade, her Q. This is her main damage source, and now it's going to scale with total attack damage rather than bonus attack damage, and then the base damage is going to be reduced significantly. So at max rank, it's 105 instead of 240. People look at this and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, massive nerf to Sivir. This is ridiculous. Oh, Zomg." But really, you have to realize that total attack damage includes your base AD, which is like 100. So this is a nerf, because if you like add 100 to this, it's still about 30 damage less, but it's not as sizable as a nerf as people might think. So let's go ahead and read this. In the early game, Sivir gets ahead with attack damage items. She can deal a large amount of burst damage with bone. That's true. Her boomerang leg is very strong in lane. Okay. Reduce the burst damage on a single target during lane phase mid lanes. Allow boomerang strong in AoE situations. Okay, so they're doing a couple of things. They're making it so if you hit AoE, you're actually dealing more damage because the damage fall off for multiple targets is reduced. But then they are changing it so that it doesn't do as much burst damage early on in lane. One thing I would be very curious about would be to know, like, compare how like a 300 damage. I'm trying to think about this. So if you have 300 total attack damage, it's like 405. So I think that this is a damage nerf. Yeah, okay, so if your single target damage is nerfed, but your multi-target is probably buffed, I don't think this kills Sivir. It hits her. I think this is like a medium nerf, maybe 4 out of 10. And I think she needed it. She's really strong. Her win rate is crazy, so I think that they needed to address her somehow. All right, Vayne, taking away some of the hidden power from Condemn. The target she condemns will no longer be unable to act at the end of the effect unless she stuns them against a wall. What does that mean? Move the ability to get a free auto attack on things while condemning them away. Okay. So highly skilled Vayne players are getting a lot of trading power in lane by landing a free basic attack on a champion after hitting them with Condemn. I don't actually know what this means. Vayne can no longer queue up a basic attack on a champion after hitting them with Condemn. I'm guessing that people who are really, really good with Vayne will know how to do this, but this isn't something that I'm aware of. And I'm guessing that this is going to nerf her more at higher levels of play than lower levels, like, I don't know, Platinum and Diamond and below probably aren't going to feel this nerf very much, but for like really, like Wild Turtle is probably going to feel this nerf. Then fixed a bug where the target will be briefly unable to act. Okay, so that's just a bug. That's a bug fix. Okay, so these are changes to Vayne. I don't think that this is going to, like, her power is still in her Q and her W, and her E is still a knockback, so I don't think that this is going to be too oppressive to Vayne. Just a little bit making her a little bit more, I guess her abilities act as they should, I guess is kind of what I read this to be. So not a huge nerf. Okay, so now we're getting into some of the meat of this. So supports are getting a massive change this patch. So one of the things that they're doing is they're allowing it through itemization and runes and masteries that supports are going to have access to a lot more gold, and they're changing it so that a lot of their abilities will scale in terms of utility and not just damage. So the idea is that they don't want to turn support into a second AP carry where you just you take any mage that you want with crowd control, put them in the bot lane, and deal a ton of damage. They want it so that the supports that they already have scale their utility so that they're not outclassed entirely. So let's go ahead and look at Janna first and see this. So they're removing her global passive. I know that Riot has said they want to remove all global passives. They started with TF. They're going to Janna. I think Zillion also has one. Because previously she would just give a flat or a percentage amount of movement speed to everyone on the map, but they're not doing that anymore. Okay, so passive is going to be people who have to be within 800 range, and they're getting even more. So it's even better if you're close to Janna, which is kind of nice, but it's less if you're away from her. So Janna will be better if you're an AD carry, and worse if you're a top laner, which makes sense to me. The global stuff is a little bit annoying. Okay, I think that's good. Now let's look at her Q. Howling Gale now gains a 0.1 AP ratio per second. Okay, that makes sense, but the flat AP ratio was reduced significantly. So that's to balance her from becoming super OP now. Because right now, like, she's balanced currently, assuming that she has boots, sightstone, phosphor stone. Those are the assumptions that the devs have made when they balanced Janna. And now, if they give her a ton of gold, seemingly would make her super OP, because if you're taking her in the bot lane, not only do you have all the utility, but you also have a ton of damage. And so that's really changes her playstyle. So now it's going to balance out the fact that, they're basically making it so that as a support, she'll be more kind of in line with what because she has so much utility that if you also give her a big damage boost, she'd become OP. And her Zephyr passive now scales with AP. Okay, so the more AP she gains, the more movement speed she gains. That's kind of a cool change. So again, scaling her utility with AP. Okay, slowed. Okay, so it looks like it also, so the debuff, the active component, is also scaling with AP, but the base slow is reduced to compensate. So now they're expecting Janna to build AP, and they're balancing it accordingly. Yep, same thing with Eye of the Storm. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So basically they're just they're buffing her utility and reducing her power and damage, assuming that she's going to get ability power in lane. That makes a lot of sense. All right, Leona. Let's see here. As a result of their positioning in teamfights, support tanks often require more survivability to make their contributions felt. I agree. Okay, so they're basically buffing her as a tank. Change bonus to... Okay, so this is actually a little bit of a nerf on her W, but Eclipse gains armor equal to 20% of bonus Leona's bonus armor. So that... Okay, so they're balancing it around the fact that she's going to be able to buy armor items because she has gold now. Eclipse gains... Okay, so yeah. So they're taking away some of the free armor and MR she gets from her W and giving her more bonus armor and MR because she's going to be buying it. So now you have to buy, but I would assume that you could have the potential to have more armor and magic resist than you did before. So yeah, I think overall this might be a bit of a buff to Leona. I think Leona could be really strong with the new support changes. Okay, Lulu, one of my favorite supports. I'm really excited to see what they do to her. Okay, so assuming that Lulu gets AP now, whereas previously she did not, the damage of picks. Okay. All right. Okay, so they're really focusing Lulu's on her utility, not her damage, and they want her utility to scale with ability power, not damage. So the buffs to picks, Fairy, Companion, Whimsy, bolster high attack speed allies. Grant large speed boost where needed. Okay, very cool. So this is her passive. Oh, I see. So they're adding a 0.15 AP ratio, very similar. So previously Lulu just has a flat bit of damage that doesn't scale at all, but now it scales with AP, assuming she's going to get AP. So this is a buff. I think that, let's see, how much are they reducing the base damage? Not too much. And only at higher levels. Okay, so that's cool. That's a cool change. Yeah, I definitely think that this has the potential to be much stronger. And even like, I even want to explore like an AP on-hit Lulu build. Like a Gnasher's Tooth. That's cool. I like how they changed this. And definitely buffing, if you buy AP and you put picks on an 80 carry, like they're going to be doing quite a bit of damage. Which is really cool. Okay, so Glitter Lance rather than decaying to 0. The slow now decays. Okay, so the way I understand this is the more AP you buy, the less it decays. Is that how that works? Obviously, you're going to be buying AP, so you're going to be having a stronger Glitter Lance. Very cool. W Whimsy. The movement speed bonus now scales with AP. Removed ability power boost. Okay, so they just took that away. So this is the ally. Okay, so they reduced the flat amount of base movement speed and they're scaling with AP. So again, the more utility and more AP she buys, the harder and the bigger the movement speed boost will get. So I feel like with like a death cap, her like not necessarily that you would buy death cap, but the amount of movement speed there would be massive, which is really, really cool. Okay, and then taking away some of the damage from her E just as a nuke. So I think these are good. Again, solidifying Lulu as a support with a ton of utility, not damage. Because like I said, right now Lulu is balanced around the fact that she... Alright, so like I said, they are currently balancing Lulu around the fact that she is not getting any gold or AP. And now that she will be getting gold or AP, they want to prevent her from becoming like super strong and having a ton of damage as well as a ton of utility. Alright, Nami is next, reducing the AP ratio from her Aqua Prison and Tidal Wave. Okay. A little water. Okay, so they're adding additional utility to her speed buffs. That's kind of cool. Oh, interesting. So additional AP now improves the power of each bounce and can eventually reach positive values. Okay, so instead of it decaying, it actually will get more powerful. That's kind of cool. Okay, so the passive scales with AP, reducing the damage from her Q. Percentage power. Okay, so the more AP she builds, the better her W will become. Slow percentage scales with AP. That makes sense. And reducing... Okay, so they're taking away damage and, again, increasing her utility through her speed boost. Very, very good. Alright, let's see here. Again, same type of idea to Sona. Take some of the power from her abilities to shift into her power chord and Song of Celerity. Okay, that's very, very good. Oh, I see. So they're adding AP ratios to her passive in each of the 3 forms. That's kind of cool. Reducing the damage on her Q to fall in line. That makes sense. It looks like base heal amount reduced. Interesting. I'm assuming that they did that just because now that she'll be building AP, it'll make up for some of that. Yeah, and at lower, it's all at higher levels. So I'm assuming with AP, the amount of heal wood is pretty negligent. You're not losing. I don't think this is gonna be too much of a nerf. Active speed. Oh, okay. So the speed boost scales with AP. And reducing damage. Okay, so again, focusing her on her utility with the speed, and adding AP ratios and taking them away so that she's not broken with the new gold. Soraka's getting a bit of a change. I think this is good because Soraka is probably one of the worst supports right now. So she's getting base health, health per level, base armor all being increased. And she has a new passive. Okay, that's good. I think her old passive kind of sucked. Did it just like reduced magic resist or something? I don't even know. Okay. Oh, that's kind of cool. So if she hits champions with Star Call, Astral's Blessings cooldown is reduced. So that's going to encourage you to spam Star Call. Okay, so the armor buff now scales with AP. Again, scaling her utility with AP. Use her own mana as a donation. Interesting. Alright, so that's just kind of a quality of life buff right there. I think these are good changes to Soraka. I'm actually kind of excited to try her out. So she's going to be a little beefier. These are really solid changes right here. I think those are going to really help her out. Be a little bit more of a strong defensive support. So a new passive, Soraka's health and mana restoring abilities are increased. Okay, so the lower that your ally is, the better your healing and mana restore is going to be. That's very cool. I really like that. Q, let's see here. Magic Resist Shred now scales with... Okay, with AP, that's cool. So the more AP she gets, the better the MR Shred will be. And it's going to reduce the cooldown. That's very, very cool. So using your Star Call in, important ways is actually going to be a nice change. Like, this is definitely an ability that was kind of a afterthought before, and now will actually be kind of strong. So the W now, okay, so that scales, and the healing is going to be reduced. Okay, to compensate. Wow, that's a pretty big change, but I'm guessing with AP, and I suppose you can spam it more with Star Call. So it's going to be used a little more often. I think these are good changes. Yeah, I'm really excited to see these changes to Soraka. I think she needed some love, and I'm hoping that these changes help her to kind of fit into her role. I mean, her role is cool, but it's like, I don't know. I think she is just very weak in what she is now. So she's like the dedicated healer. She's the best healer champion in the game, and those can be difficult to play against because they don't have any sort of like counterplay. You just like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna why even harass Soraka's AD carry, because she'll just heal him back up. So giving her a little bit more utility and using her abilities in good ways in conjunction with one another, I think these are good changes. So excited to see play the new Soraka. All right, Taric. Okay, yeah, his passive kind of sucks, so I'm glad that they're changing this. Man, there are so many changes in this patch. This is going to be like the longest video ever. Okay, so his new passive, after casting a spell, Taric gains a buff that deals 30% of his total armor as bonic magic damage. Okay, so this is good. Again, rewarding him for dealing armor. Taric is the best support against an all-AD team. He's the best support just with armor in general. And so this further solidifies him in that regard. And passive empowered auto attacks reduce the cooldown of all abilities by 2 seconds. That's kind of a cool change. I really like this new passive. Okay, cooldown reduction on attacks move to passive. Alright, that's fine. Oh, interesting. So, very cool. So his heal, I believe this is his heal, adds a scaling with 5% bonus health. So again, you're going to build him as a tank, not as an AP, but when you build him tanky, that scales his utility. So very, very cool. Shatter, I think this is his W. Armor reduction now scales with his total armor. So again, just scaling his utility with the stats that he's going to be buying with the new gold he's going to be getting. Reducing the AP ratio. Cooldown increased. Alright, so again, scaling his utility with items that he's going to be buying. Alright, very, very good. Alright, I wonder if any of these changes are going to be worth looking at. Looks like this is a bug fix. Reverting some of the changes they made to Shen, that's fine. Whoa, interesting. Improve their running animation, that's kind of cool. Not such a big deal. Okay, there are a lot of changes coming to items. I'm not going to go super in-depth on all of these, but there are a lot of changes being made. Okay, so this is one of the new support items, and this is the one I think it builds into. And it's got 3 tiers. So this is Spell Thief's Edge. So this is the one, gives ability power, mana regen, gold per 10, basic attacks against champions, grant 4 gold. Okay, so this is going to be for your AP supports that want to be a little more aggressive. I could see this working really well on Lulu or Sona, that you want the AP, you want the mana regen, solid, and then you can upgrade Spell Thief's Edge into Frostfang, more AP, more mana regen, even better. So it's just like a better version of what you had before. And you notice you can start the game with this, so this is a very good starting option for those types of supports. And then the third tier, even more AP, even more mana regen, same amount of GP10. Okay, and then you get a new active, chills target enemy champion and all nearby. Okay. Alright, so it deals damage and it's slow. So it gives you like an on-hit targeted slow. Very cool. I think this one will be solid. It gives you AP, which is really nice. Like especially those supports that I listed above that scale with AP. Janna, Sona, Lulu. This would be a great choice for them. Second one is the Ancient Coin. This is like the old Philosopher's Stone. Health, mana regen, and then a new passive, being near a minion death without dealing the killing blow, grants 2 gold. So as long as your AD last hits, you kind of leech some of the gold from that. This is the first upgrade. You get better health regen, better mana regen. You get a flat amount of GP10, alright, and even better passive. Very good. So a very good upgrade right there. And then the third level, oh, nice. You get 20% CDR, and then I believe, yep, so this is like the old Shirelias. They took out the health, but they left the CDR, health, mana. Nice. Okay, I really like this one. This is probably the one that I would favor the most. It's very versatile. I mean, CDR is good on almost any support, especially those who don't necessarily want the AP to scale really hard, but just kind of maybe someone like Thresh. This would be perfect for someone like that. So very, very good. Or maybe he's more of a tanky for the third one. But overall, this one is kind of like the jack of all trades. Like almost any of the supports can probably benefit from this because it gives a lot of good stats. And then the third one, this is kind of, I believe, the tanky support one. So yep, you get health regen, and then basic attacks, execute minions. Whoa. Killing a minion heals the nearest allied champion for 2% of your maximum health and grants them bonus gold. Interesting. Okay, so it looks like what you want to do is actually share some last hits with your support. And interesting. And then it leeches some of the gold to your ally and it heals them. So this is cool. This is a very cool mechanic for the tankier supports. Leona, maybe Thresh, Alistair, Taric. Very, very good choice for those kinds of guys. Let's see here. Even more health on the tier 2. Even better health regen. This is the same, I believe, except a little bit better gold. Alright, the third level. Even more health. CDR, nice. Health regen, nice. So that's the same. And this is really, I think, what is cool. So it consumes 20% of your current health to an ally as a shield for 10% of your maximum health. So that's really cool. So if you're building tanky items on Leona and you get this, let's say you have this item, you also have maybe like a some other tanky items that are giving you health, you can use this as to shield your ally. This is really cool. I really like this on tankier supports. Just gives them even more utility. So very cool. It gives you 3 different options. One's more AP focused, one is more CDR and the Shirelias and just kind of all around focused. You know, I think this passive is really good. And then the last one is better for tankier supports. I want to get in the mix. Very nice. All right, also changing the jungle. Yep, remaking Wriggle's Lantern. This is pretty massive. So it gives armor, gives attack speed, and it gives this right here. 40% increase gold from monsters. So the idea here is that if you buy Wriggles on a farm-heavy jungler like Shyvana or Master Yi, that you can just farm the heck out of the jungle because you clear it really, really fast. You get this bonus gold, and then you can get a ton of big-ticket items. I'm very curious to see if this is actually a good thing because you're paying a lot of gold for very weak combat stats, like 20 armor and 25% attack speed isn't really that good in terms of like going and fighting people. But if you just want to sit in the jungle and farm and kind of go for more of like a late game scaling build, I think this could be very cool. So I'm very curious to see if this is like a viable jungle strategy as contrasted with like the gank heavy support style junglers who don't really get a lot of gold but spend a lot of time in lane, having a lot of lane presence. Alright, Spirit of the Elder Lizard, AD reduced. Incinerate passive, now procs on physical damage. Okay, so shifting some of the damage to the passive component from the AD component. And then a new passive, champion kills, assists, or epic monsters grants 40 gold. Alright, so again, just giving you extra gold for farming the jungle. I'm assuming this is going to be more for like kill heavy, like specifically this champion kills or assists, I think is where you're going to get the most out of this. Although 40 gold, like that doesn't seem, I don't know, I'm curious to see how effective this is for like gank heavy kill style junglers. Like Evelyn, curious to see if this is really good on her. Alright, Spirit of the Ancient Golem, health reduced. This item is super, super strong, so I think it did need a little bit of toning down. Okay, Conservation, gains a stack. Every 1.5 seconds, losing conservation stacks. Okay. Okay, so it looks like this is for the current meta of junglers, where you're not really farming that much, but you're going at ganking. So if you're ganking, you're spending a lot of time not farming the jungle, you're going to build up these stacks, and then when you do go farm the jungle, you can kind of cash in. Alright, that makes sense. Alright, Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. Let's see here. Oh, interesting. So it gives you better sustain. That's nice. This is going to be for AP junglers. Same passive as the Elder Lizard. Okay, so I think that this will help AP junglers out a lot, like Diana or Fiddlesticks. Make that, because AP junglers really aren't very, like AP damage junglers really don't exist very well. So I think this might help give them kind of a place where they can actually do well. Interesting. It looks like they actually took out the spell vamp component, because a lot of laners like Mordekaiser or Vladimir will actually buy this in lane. So it looks like that's not going to happen. I'm assuming they're going to have an alternative. Aegis of the Legion has a new recipe. Okay, that's fine. Banner of Command gets changed. Oh, it looks like they're changing Will of the Ancients. Okay, I think this was good. So Will of the Ancients is clearly the better choice. Woda used to be really good for like AoE, double AP comps, but it just wasn't that good of an item. There really wasn't any reason to buy it, but it looks like it's going to kind of sit in that same place. So this actually looks like perfect for Vlad. AP, although the mana regen goes wasted, but CDR, Spell Vamp, yeah, solid item if you need those stats. Okay, the vision changes. Man, this patch is so big. Holy cows, this video is going to be super long. Okay, so sight wards are green wards, and they renamed to stealth wards. And this is really powerful right here. So max of 3 wards placed per player. That's a really big change. Okay, so basically you can only put 3 green wards down on the map per person. So your team could have a maximum of 15 green wards on the map at a time. And I believe that the way that it works is if you place, like let's say you buy 4 wards and you place 3 and then you place the 4th, then the first one will just be removed. The same mechanic as they have with the Sightstone. Oh, so Sightstone no longer has their own restriction. That's kind of cool. I wonder, does that mean you can like infinite, like you don't have to go back to refill it? That's kind of cool. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good change. Alrighty, so then vision wards, are no longer stealthed. So vision pink wards are no longer stealth. Like it no longer requires another pink ward to unearth it. They have 5 health instead of 3. Infinite duration. Wow, that's very interesting. And the health was reduced. Or the cost was reduced. 1 limited to 1 placed on the map per player. Okay, so very interesting. Okay, so it looks like they're making it so that you have strategic choices to make. Do you want to buy green wards or do you want to buy pink wards? Pink wards never run out, but they're easily destroyed if you're not there to protect it. But they're also cheaper. So it's more like, if you want to get pink wards, you kind of need to be willing to defend that place, because it's going to be like a clear point of contention. And you want to make sure, okay, that's kind of cool. I really like these changes. And it gives you more strategy. There are some situations where it's good to buy green wards, and there are other situations where it's good to buy pink wards. All right, very, very cool. Okay, and then adding trinkets. This is going to be a 7th item slot, which only contains vision trinkets. Okay, so you can, these are 3 free vision relics. The warding totem places a stealth ward for 60 seconds. So this is like a... okay, so that's just like a explorer ward. Scrying orb reveals the target location for 1 second, and then the sweeping lens disables and reveals nearby hidden wards. Oh, alright, so it looks like you can get these all at level 1. And so I feel like this would be like the standard choice for laners. What is reveals target? Is this like an Ashe E? I wonder. So that's interesting. And the sweeping lens disables and reveals nearby hidden wards, traps, or devices. So this I feel like would be a really good choice on supports, because this is kind of what becomes your pink ward. All right, very good. They can upgrade at level 9. Oh, they automatically upgrade at level 9, so you don't have to buy them. Okay, so looks like the ink timer is increased. So you could have a constant ward down from your greater totem. I feel like this would be like a great choice for like top lane, to always have a ward available. Okay, it looks like it just gets better. The cast range is increased. So yeah, this is like gives you vision of like dragon. If you want to check it, you can use this greater orb from the scrying orb. And then greater lens, sweep area is increased by 100%, cooldown reduced to 150 seconds, range increased. Alright, so just makes it a better version of what it was before. And then the level 3, you have to pay 475 gold, and it has to be past level 9. Stealth ward timer increased. Okay, so you really can have a constant ward down with the totem. I really like that. I think this is probably going to be the one I'm going to choose. I think that makes the most sense to me. Upgrades stealth ward to a vision ward. Huh. Interesting. So you can upgrades stealth ward to a vision ward. I wonder what exactly that means, because stealth wards are the green ones and vision wards are the pink ones. Does that mean that all your green wards turn into pink? I'm not exactly sure what this means. Far sight orb, cast range increased, even better. Oh, I see. So you can choose between the two of these. Oh, I gotcha. So this one either lasts really long, or the ward that you placed becomes a vision ward. Gotcha. Okay, and then the Oracle's Lens now grants True Sight for 10 seconds after activation. Very, very cool. Alright, so I really like the changes they're making with Vision. I think that it adds a lot of strategy. And it really won't affect like lower levels of play. Like, people aren't going to like buy wards and stuff. But the thing that I like the most is if like the standard choice seems to be the totem. And if you just, like, let's say you're an AD carry, you can, upgrade your totem for only 475 gold, and you can participate in the Vision game. Again, this is like relieving some of the burden on supports and shifting it to other players in a good way. In a way that doesn't take up item slots. It's not that expensive. This is a very easy thing for players to do. And I like these changes. It makes Vision a lot more strategic. So very, very good. Summoner's Rift changes. Alright, changing the brushes. So before, there are a lot of weird brushes that are like C-shaped or U-shaped, or there are times when you can like put a ward in the brush and it's not going to give you sight of the entire area. And now I think all the brushes are going to be like square or rectangular shaped. Okay, so it only will require one ward to gain vision of the entire brush. That's kind of a nice change. I think this is good. Oh, and it looks like top lane has been broken up into 3 smaller brush patches instead of 2. Alright, so I think this is good. I think these are good changes. Just kind of a quality of life for Summoner's Rift. Okay, the big jungle changes. So they added an extra camp, which is called the white. I believe the white is located to the left of the blue buff, or towards top or bottom lane, whichever side you're on. If you're on the left side of the map, it's towards top lane. Smite cooldown lowered by 20 seconds, so you want to use Smite right away. Like a Smiteless leash no longer really makes sense, because you want to use Smite right away, is what I've seen. Is people will like Smite blue buff right away when they start it, so they can have it up again very earlier. And then the damage is reduced based on champion level. Okay, that makes sense. Golden for junglers wasn't scaling. Oh, I see. Okay, so they've introduced monster levels that link jungle difficulty with rewards. Okay. So junglers who fall behind have no opportunity to catch up. Okay, I see. So basically this is just a crutch for people who fall behind early. Like if you get invaded early, and like let's say you do your blue buff, you go to your red buff, and then Udyr comes and kills you and steals your red buff. A lot of times as a jungler, you're just behind and you're worthless for the rest of the game. But now you're going to have an easier time catching up, which is cool. And also there's kind of like some interesting strategy here for like if somebody like DCs for 5 minutes, they can just come back and farm the jungle for a little bit and hopefully catch up, which I think is cool. I think there's some interesting opportunities here for players to catch up in the jungle. Oh, whoa, this is a really big change. So blue buff only gives 10% CDR instead of 20%. This is a really big change. Whoa, I think this is a bigger change than people may anticipate, because like CDR, especially on mid laners, is such a important stat. Like a lot of them will get to 20 or 24% CDR and then rely on blue buff to top them off, but you can no longer really do that. So I wonder if like, yeah, I'm very curious to see how this changes builds for mid laners who rely on CDR, like especially somebody like Lux or something like that who really wants to get 40% CDR. Okay, so changing health and gold from these monsters. I don't really know much about what this actually means. Oh wow, the white looks like it has a ton of health. Huh, interesting. Okay, map objectives. All right, Dragon. They're changing Dragon so that Dragon now gives global gold and local experienced. Okay, so it's, let's see here. Okay, so this is a really good comeback tool. If the killing team is lower average level than their opponents, Dragon gives bonus XP. And bonus XP is sharply increased for the lowest members of the enemy team. So again, allowing people who get behind early to come back. That makes sense. And look at this. The local XP is greatly increased. Very, very much increased. But then the global gold is decreased. So it's to your advantage to be there. And so before, like, if your team gets Dragon and you're in top lane, a lot of times that could, like, sway the matchup and give the team who got Dragon, they could, like, get an extra item or something and really sway those matchups in one direction or another. So this is going to kind of reduce that snowball effect. And I also think that this means that Dragon will scale better into late game. So, yeah, so Dragon won't become worthless late game. It will still be something good for teams who are behind to come back. All right, turrets. Turrets now give less global gold and more gold for people who actually kill the turret. Yeah, so again, we don't believe a lane should lose simply because another lane lost their turret too early. So it gives you an incentive to, have your jungler come and kill your tower, because it gives more gold locally for the people who participate in killing that tower. Okay, the player experience for last standing under turrets was inconsistent with high attack damage champions and supports. This is very, very true. If you buy AD, last standing under turret, it's usually very easy. But if you don't, it's very, very difficult. So they've adjusted turret-based damage and damage against minions to make this... Okay, so I think this is a cool change. I'm very interested to see what exactly that means, but I'm hoping that this makes it easier. Okay, so again, just making it more so that, like, if somebody in another lane kills their turret, it doesn't change your lane matchup quite so much. Whoa. Inhibitor turrets gain health regen. Okay. Okay, so no longer can, like, a Tryndamere just kind of sit up in top lane and get 2 or 3 whacks on a turret, and then the minion wave secedes, and maybe somebody comes, and then they run away, and then he comes back, and it's just kind of this dance back and forth. Now it's like if you want to split push and take towers, you kind of need to like get the tower in one fell swoop. So I think this is a good change. I'm curious to see if this is like a nerf to champions who are really strong split pushers. I guess we will see. Okay, inhibitors. Oh, so the death timer on inhibitors is reduced. No longer grants a global buff. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so losing an inhibitor is going to become less damaging and only really hurts you in that lane, rather than having all minions push into your base when you lose one inhibitor. I think that's a good change, because losing an inhibitor is a really big deal, and it's very difficult to come back once you do lose an inhibitor, and this will not make it quite so difficult. Okay, Gameflow Changes. These are going to have a pretty big impact, I think, on the game overall. Okay, so reduced early death timers, reducing lane snowballing. I'm really curious about something like this, like a champion who relies on getting an early kill, like maybe a Riven or a Pantheon. I'm wondering if this will be like a nerf to them, because it won't be quite so devastating. Minion experience. Okay, this is very true. Okay, this is very interesting. No longer worth more experience based on game time. Okay, so before, like, a split pusher can like rank up super fast, and you'll get situations where like your Tryndamere, who's been split pushing all game, is level 18, while the support is like level 11, and they just like two-shot them because they're totally out leveled, and hopefully these changes will kind of reduce that from happening. Okay, and then compensating. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, I see. So again, echoing. Yeah, so an early kill, like if you get first blood, it's no longer going to be as crippling, and like your lane isn't just automatically over. I think this is a good change. I mean, honestly, it is really frustrating when you play top lane and you make a mistake and you give up first blood and then your lane is over. I think that this is a good change. Additional reward for players to get a lot of assists. Okay, so for junglers and support specifically, or tanks, this is going to be really nice. Okay, so like assist sprees can be very powerful. Alright, so very good. Man, there's a new mastery tree. I could go into that, but I'm probably not going to right now. Oh, I see. So this is pretty much to just straight up counteract proxy singed. Okay, and I finally made it to the end, and new masteries as well. I'll probably do another video on that another time. But anyways, holy smokes, so a good 50, 60-minute video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, but a lot of changes are coming. It's going to take time to see how these play out. I think these are good changes. I like the direction Riot is moving in. The item changes are going to be really interesting. The support changes, the early game changes. There's so many changes. The game is going to be very fresh and new and different. I'm very excited to see how this changes League of Legends. But anyways, this was the 3.13 patch rundown. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to rate and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.